Hi, Facebook friends. Helen Arcantu here, CEO of the YWCA of Northern New Jersey. Happy Wednesday. My pronouns are she, her, hers, and I am so happy to be with you today. And even happier to have my guest with us today, Lisa Noesi. Welcome, Lisa.
Hi, how are you?
I am good. Lisa is in the beautiful Miami right now. Um, although you can almost tell from the vibe of the room that she's in. Although I have to say it might be just as tropical here in New Jersey these last few days as it has been
I heard.
in Miami. But definitely you've got some beautiful surroundings there. But we're so grateful that you took some time to join us. And to our viewers, I'm just so happy to be able to bring Lisa to you today. I came across her story through a mutual connection that we have at Montclair State University. And I just knew I wanted to share it with all of you because it's definitely inspirational and it's definitely something that, as women, we should be thinking about for sure. So, with that, let me tell you a little bit about Lisa. She is focused her work on something that many women have experienced and have dealt with, but very often don't talk about, and definitely don't talk about in arenas like this as much as we should. And hopefully, there's a trend that we're moving through here to be having these conversations, so that we can support each other to better health, better mindsets, and also just because there's no reason not to be talking about them, by the way. And just to normalize it, because this is normal, a normal part of, as we were saying, is evolution of womanhood and women's health for sure. And so with that, Lisa has spent a lot of time focusing on helping women with chronic yeast infections. We know as women, whoever has had them, right, that they can be uncomfortable. They also can be confusing. Sometimes you don't know what's going on in your body. It doesn't feel right. And as a result of both of those things, it can impact your entire overall health, your well being, your mindset. So, Lisa took that issue and moved forward with it because she wanted to be able to address the problem for women. She had a vision about changing the world and also changing the world around feminine health in particular. She wanted to really be able to support women. And we're so grateful to, again, have her here to share her story. In 2018, Lisa went to Colombia. She went there to try to find herself, and she actually ended up finding something even bigger than herself. But seems to me it probably is all connected. That's part of her magic, and we're going to hear about it right from her. After years and years of working at an OBGYN and dealing with recurring yeast infections herself, she knew that there had to be some kind of better solution out there to help with vaginal imbalance. And she was going up and down the aisles, in the pharmacies, and just not finding it. And so with that, she found the solution that she was looking for in Colombia, where she discovered many health benefits of Calendula, which is something that, sometimes I know a lot of us who have dealt with babies, we see a lot of Calendula come through in baby products.
Yeah.
But we don't necessarily think about using them past that age and stage in life. But the reality of it is an herb, and it's a staple in the Colombian medicine cabinet, which is how Lisa kind of connected with it while she was down there. So after pitching the idea to start a Calendula-based wellness company at her alma mater, or now alma mater, but then her school, Montclair State University, she participated and won multiple New Jersey statewide pitch competitions. She had enough funding to start her business, MavoCare, and fast forward now 2 years, she has helped over 5,000 women combat vaginal infections and ultimately really transform their lives. So, I mean, I love everything about this story, Lisa. And as you know, and as I shared with you before we jumped on, and I sent a little to our viewers because, we do have that Montclair State connection. I read about you And our viewers know because I've shared it before. I'm an adjunct professor there for many years, and I'm an alumni student. Um, and when I read about you in from the pitch competition that you participated in at the business school,
Yeah.
I was really just fascinated with your story and wanted to share it. And it fascinated me on so many levels. Obviously, the women's health aspect is a really important one to me, and you know, but also the entrepreneurship aspect, which is really important to me too. And both of those issues are so important at the core of our organization and our mission. So with that, thank you so much for taking the time again to drop in from Miami to share a little bit about your story and what's going on. So thank you again.
Well, thank you for that fabulous introduction and everything. I mean, it's crazy. I had no idea you were involved with Montclair State, and it's such an honor to just even be talking to you. And and I love having this connection with you because it's really important, obviously, for the story and for why MavoCare started and how it started. But also, it's nice to have this conversation with you and just be able to open up here. Um, so
So
flashback.
tell us, yeah, flashback. Tell us what got you to the concept and then to Columbia. Tell us your journey. I mean, I highlighted it, but you're going to tell it much better.
Sure. So, all right, I'll start from the beginning. So my first job out of high school was a medical assistant at an OBGYN. And there is when so I grew up with three sisters and I have no brothers. So I have a very feminine household. There's a lot of women in my life. And I really thought I understood women just because I was the youngest in the family and I've seen my sisters grow up and all the things, right? But it wasn't until working at the gynecologist where I realized that like women are super integral to society and if not probably the most important part of society, and women's health and feminine wellness is not talked about enough. The resources out there of getting to the root of a lot of issues, especially like vaginal infections and pH imbalance, is really not there. And I'm not saying it's not there everywhere, but in the majority of women's health right now, it's not there. So it was there that I realized that. And then as I started getting older, I worked there for a couple of years. I started experiencing what over like 80% of the patients were coming in for, which was chronic yeast infection. And mine was due to a hormonal imbalance. Like right before my period, like clockwork, I would get yeast infection. And that was a lot of our patients' issues as well. But doctors usually just give the same prescription out. It's just like one diflucan, take the one pill and you'll be okay. But there wasn't really much more to that. So I was always, as a medical assistant, like as the doctor would leave, I would be like, hey, I also heard online that blah, blah, blah might work. Why don't you try it out? Let me know. I was always the one that like to recommend like taking the medication, of course, but also like any alternatives that are out there. So fast forward with that, that's where I went when I went to Columbia. It's not that I was out there looking for something, because I really wasn't, but I was open to trying new things. And when I discovered Calendula, because I was in Columbia for like 4 months. So I realized like 3 months into the stay in Columbia, I was like, wait a second, I haven't had one yeast infection since I've been here, which was crazy because I think I was experiencing chronic yeast infections for like 3 years. So at that time. So that was big. So I came back home and I was like, let me see if there are any calendula-based products on in the feminine care aisle here in the US. And I found that there weren't any. So I started to like play around in my kitchen and formulate like my own like type of feminine wash. And then I entered that in the Montclair State University pitch competition and I won 50 grand to start the business. And so that's kind of how the business has started. Now with TikTok and with like social media, it's really kind of been blowing up just because of social media and more people are getting their hands on my products. And I felt at the time, it was just an idea. And now that it's so real and in front of me, it's just been super surreal. And I've yeah, I mean, that's where I am right now in the business. So that's where we're going.
So, I mean, oh my gosh. So, obviously, first there's so many questions that are popping into my head. So we go back to when you're, in Colombia, and say it again for me. Cause I mean, I obviously saying it wrong. I'm saying Calendula. So how do you
There's
say it?
two ways to say it. There's two
Okay.
ways to say it. So it's Calendula or Calendula. I say Calendula because I'm just used to saying it that way, but
Yeah, yeah,
it's
yeah. No. I just wanted to hear it again because I know sometimes we just say things, phonetically just to try to get through the word.
yeah,
So so you figured out while you were there that this was helpful, right?
yeah.
And then you figured out when you were here that we didn't have it. And then you just started mixing it together and figuring it on your own. I mean, like, so tell me about like, and I say this because we have so many women. And then what I love about this conversation is really the two tracks of it and how they both are so supportive of the mission of this organization and the work that we do. Because obviously women's health is huge for us, but entrepreneurial, supporting entrepreneurial spirit. We have our Eureka 360 that is specifically to help women and even greater focus on women of color to be able to start small businesses and give them support in doing that. And so I'm listening to you that, as so many times as what, women, we have this idea like, oh, I wish that I had this. It would make, what I'm doing so much easier or better. But everyone doesn't go that next step to actually creating it. And so when I've talked to those of you, on over my years at the YW where you told that story about, well, let me just make it, I love to hear about that process because I think sometimes, women don't have enough faith in themselves to kind of go
Yeah.
that next step because they feel like it's out of their comfort zone and probably skills that maybe or they don't have. So they just don't push themselves to go there. And we know that that is research shows is a difference between men and women, right? That men will push themselves to go into spaces that they're uncomfortable with and just imagine they're going to figure it out. Women are tentative about that. So I
Yeah.
love that you jumped right in, and I just would love to hear a little bit about your thought process just to help model that for other women, just to help inspire them that we can all do that.
Sure, absolutely. And in reality, is once I started doing more research on calendula itself and realizing the benefits that in the studies that have already been done. So calendula is proven to be more effective than metronidazole, which is what most doctors prescribe for BV and all the things. So I started doing more research, and the more research I was doing, I was like, this is it. This is extremely important. More people need to get their hands on this. And it's like, if I don't do it, no one will, kind of thing. So, I started researching, what does the feminine care aisle actually look like? And what are the chemicals that exist in these products? And how can I make that better? And the thought process there was, I just want to get to the root issue so that more women don't have to deal with having chronic yeast infections like I was, because it's not a comfortable experience. It's not fun. You don't feel great, and it ruins your however long you have it, but it ruins your self esteem and everything. So the thought process there was like, let me do something that's actually going to help women and get to the nitty gritty of things. And this goes with even my degree, right? Because like in women and gender studies, you study a lot of feminism, right? And if you really get into it, feminism really stems from getting rid of a patriarchal society, right? So, or not getting rid of, but like, empowering women so that they can flourish in a society where it's less patriarchal, if that makes sense. So once you really like understand that a lot of these big corporations and a lot of the products that are already on the feminine care aisle are really not there to help you. They're kind of there to make you a little worse. They have all these chemicals and pH. They throw off your pH and fragrances. All these things exist in these ingredient lists. And once you really see that and you understand, all right, there's a hidden agenda here. Corporations are not on our side. How can I change? And then I realized that the mission is greater than anything that I would, it's greater than me. So why not just try? So
Yeah.
So that's kind of the inspiration for that, and that was kind of like what kept me motivated and what kept me going. Because at the end of the day, I might not be the smartest, right? I might not be the most confident, I might not whatever, but at the end of the day, I know that women are dealing with this, and I have a mission here, and I was gifted this idea for a reason. So that's kind of that was
Yeah.
that process there.
Well, and I think, as women, we do kind of have those tapes running in our head. I'm not the smartest,
Always.
I'm not this, I'm not that. But at the end of the day, we and we hear this over and over again, but we have to believe it in ourselves. Everything we have, we need right in
Yeah.
here. You know,
Yeah.
we can travel anywhere, we can read any books, we can, but at the end of the day, we really have it all. I mean, but there's opportunities to definitely enhance it, and learn and grow. But we have it all. So,
We do.
and I love, and I love and I said this to you before we started, I love that your generation also is feeling so comfortable to talk about these conversations. And again, that's why, again, I'm so thrilled that we're able to talk about it now too, because we know that the journey of womanhood is something that, because of our patriarchal society especially, it's not a narrative that anyone wants to be having. We kind of like shushed to talk about it like one-on-one behind a closed door,
Yeah.
with somebody, and even when groups of women get together, it's not always conversations that are happening. And I do think that that is shifting somewhat. But
It
as I
is.
said, we at our organization have just really we launched a program around period equity, a partnership that we've been doing. And, when I think about it from the age of, getting your period all the way through menopause and everything that could happen to our bodies in between, just, are not open conversations.
Yeah.
And as a result, if there is something to help make that journey easier, some support to get through a difficult time, we just don't get access to it because we're not open talking about it.
And the funny thing, so the point I was trying to make before with the corporations and
Mhm.
how they're creating products that are not good for us
Yeah.
is because we're not having these conversations. It's because we're not calling them out, And women are hush hush around pH imbalances anyway, so it's like they can get away with giving us products that are not good for us. So that was kind of the main thing, and like you said, now we're talking about it. So I think a lot of things are going to change, and they're going to change
Yes.
drastically, which is nice.
Right. And knowing that we have entrepreneurs that look like you, right, that are out there on the scene, and hopefully, as we keep working at it, having more women and more people that look like us, and at the helm of those companies, right, that we'll see that change, because that is the other issue. I mean, we know this, right? A lot of women's health doctors for the longest time have been men, right? A
Right.
lot of folks making the women's medicines are all men, and so they don't have that understanding of our needs the same way that we do.
Right.
And obviously there's a lot of men making decisions about women's healthcare policy as well, which
Right.
is absolutely something that has to change, because we are not moving in the right direction there for sure.
It doesn't seem like it, unfortunately. And I mean, this all ties together. This all is extremely connected. I think the core issue of, the American society at the moment is how ingrained patriarchy is into the society. And unfortunately, yeah, like you said, it doesn't seem like with policy issues, it doesn't seem like it's going in the right direction. But luckily there are a lot of people speaking out and we're here now, and there are a lot of female CEOs that are emerging at the moment. So luckily, like e-commerce and socials and the ability to grow at such a large scale really quickly has helped a lot of women become entrepreneurs, have successful companies that are mission driven. Because I mean, maybe I'm generalizing here, but I do believe that a lot of women are mainly mission driven. And because of that, we're going to have more mission driven companies. And because of that, society's going to change. So I feel like this is all great. And I'm happy that MavoCare is kind of like in the mix with all of that.
You are 100% in the mix, and I the research does show that the mindset of women is different in this space. What we care about different things when we create businesses, and it shows in the long term. So all of that is so important, and I agree that having you and this product is part of that changing landscape. So I mean it's so wonderful. So talk to me about what kind of support, as a woman owned business, and obviously, we talked about, where your family comes from, the two of us before we got on, um, tell me, what kind of support do you need to keep your business strong? And, what should we be thinking about in terms of just continuing to change the landscape? I mean, again, I keep jumping back between the women's health discussion and the business discussion. And of course they are so intertwined, for sure. But I'd love to hear from your perspective as, kind of, jumping into this space, what has been helpful and what do you still see as being a significant need, to get folks to rally around, businesses like yours to be successful?
Sure. So I don't know if I mentioned already, but I'm Latina. I'm Dominican. I come from a Dominican family. Luckily, my father, it's like very typical Dominican story, but he's an entrepreneur. He had bodegas, he had liquor stores, all came straight from Dominican Republic and started businesses here in America, which is really lucky. I mean, we're really fortunate as a family to have done that. So, but with that being said, I think up until recently, there really weren't any specific Latina based funding or equity or funders or lenders. And there's also now I think there's more women based fund hedge funds emerging, but it's hard to get in that space. So the thing is, this is hard to talk about, but I think as women in entrepreneurship and in e-commerce specifically, there's so many different moving parts in a female-based company, especially if you're doing social media, especially if you're CPG, which is a consumer-based product, because there's the social aspect of it, right? There's the mission aspect of it, which I feel like is not just, I think it's a very integral part of a women's-based business, because I think we have to prove that we have a mission behind our stuff, which men are very just money-based and they can just go in and have no fear. But women were really pushing our mission more than others, in my opinion. So I think in terms of creating a team with people like me is something that I feel like is a big need, just because I feel like it's hard to really outsource and find people like me that are trying to get into this type of space. So that's kind of where I'm at the moment.
It's helping support, kind of creating that change landscape.
Yeah.
Yep. I love that. And I mean, it's something for those of us that are in places and spaces like I am and at the YW. I mean, and I say this all the time. That's why we try to use our organization to really be able to help support. And which is really why I asked the question too, because whether, and those of you that are watching, we all have a responsibility and an opportunity to change what's happening around us in business, to change what's happening around us in women's health, in these areas. But part of it has to do with the decisions that we make and the decisions that we support. And so, now when you have an issue like this, going and buying a product that is from a woman-owned, Latina-owned company, is important, as opposed to buying something that's, big pharma that is not going to address your needs,
Right.
as well. And also to be thinking about, in the places and spaces where you are, what decisions you can make in terms of the businesses that you're in and folks that you're, connecting with to support, to support businesses. I know you all will see, Lisa again, in terms of the YW. I'm already thinking about all the places where we can invite her to speak, and talk, like our women's conference. I mean, honestly, your story is so inspiring. Your journey is so inspiring. And I also, obviously, as my 52-year-old self loves to look at you at your age and see how much that you've accomplished already, because it's so inspiring for me to think about my 9-year-old daughter, and other young women are going to be able to, start in a different place because of work, that you're proving that we are making changes here. And it also, I hope those of you who are, in my age group, who are still in places that we can support, we really have to do that, because this is how the shift is going to happen. It's so, so, so important.
It is
um,
so important, and luckily places like YWCA exist, and I think that we need right now more places where there are spaces where minority women, I hate the word minority, but minority women, Latina women, Black women, we are out, we can connect and really focus on one mission here and make things better for women as a whole. I think we all should unite as a whole and create a better space for women in general, consumers specifically, but women in general too.
Yeah. And I say this all the time, and we know this. Statistics tell us this, right? We know women are shopping for most households, right? And
Yeah,
so the decisions that you make with the purchases that you make, making sure that you're, shopping small, that you're
yeah,
shopping, that you're shopping specifically to women-owned businesses, to women of color-owned businesses. These are not small decisions, because if enough of us are making that decision, we are we are actually changing the landscape here,
yes,
with those decisions of where we're investing our money and the choices that we're making for ourselves and for our families. Um, so i'm so
absolutely.
I'm so inspired and jazzed up from this conversation, and I really do appreciate you sharing your journey. So let me just quick ask you two other things, and I know time goes so fast. One
Absolutely.
is, we've had a couple folks on here. I know Shalisa McNeil was on, and Rona Vega. They're two of the women connected to some of the YW pitch competitions that we've done, and elsewhere, and they both have started their own businesses, and they're both women of color, and have shared their stories and the challenges and what supports that they needed. So pitch competitions are a thing now,
Yes.
right? And so talk a little bit about preparing for something like that, because someone
Oh my
out there
goodness.
might have an idea and are thinking about, um, you know, entering one. But I'd love to hear, like, what was that process like for you? What did you have to pull together? And I mean, getting to the point where you won $50,000 is huge.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
so what was that like?
Totally. I mean, I think at this point, because I pitched in more competitions before, I mean, afterwards, but I think at this point I can like write a whole tech talk or talk about it, but it's gruesome. It's really detailed. You have to really understand what your mission is, how you're going to communicate that mission, what you're going to do, what products you're going to create, how you're going to market the product, and how you're going to come into them. How are you going to introduce your products to the market? So all of that needs to be done in a matter of time, a specific time, and it's a lot. It was hard. My process specifically for Montclair State was, I was bartending, going to school, and doing overnights. Working with a couple people on my team, creating this pitch deck and creating the pitch and perfecting that pitch. It takes a lot of courage to go out there and talk about your business, but if you do it enough, it comes out like butter. It is super smooth. You just have to know what you're pitching. You have to know what you're doing. You have to know what your mission is, and you have to really stick by it and believe in it. So I think that was kind of that process there. It was pretty much like, going through the motions over and over and over again, understanding my mission, which even just creating the pitch really made me understand more and become more passionate about even what I was doing. Like, I was passionate before, but after really just going over it and over, and I'm like, people need this in their hands. People need this in their hands. And it started, lighting a fire under my butt, I always say, but about the issue. And it honestly, it came out super smooth and it was really cool. So, and I did the same thing to prepare for other pitches as well. So it's like, you just have to know what you're pitching, why you're pitching it, and what makes you stand out. Our big thing is we're a calendula based business, so all of our products have calendula in it, and we really highlighted the benefits of calendula. And we really pushed people to understand that calendula, you need calendula in your hands. You need, if you're having chronic pH imbalance, calendula is your best friend, and it's true. And I haven't gotten one bad review on our products, and our products have been proven to work. So it's incredible, really. It's weird to see now on the market. It's like I was pitching it. Now I'm getting that feedback back to me, and it's like, whoa.
Yeah, what a great place, to be, to have like invested all of that time and work, and then to be able to step back and see, it evolving. So with that, I want to say two things. One is, make sure for our viewers, we have here on the screen MavoCare's Facebook, Instagram. I already followed you, so I'll be watching. We have your website so that people can go and learn more about you and your business. And we do encourage everyone to do that. And I always say this, during each broadcast, is part of the magic of YWTV is all of you as viewers. There is no doubt in my mind that there are multiple nuggets that you have left this conversation with today. Please drop them into a conversation that you're having with someone else today. Tell someone about Lisa, tell them about her story, her business, and help pass the word. I mean, that's how we support each other. That's how we, really, wrap around each other, and again, you don't have to know people so directly to always wrap around them and provide support. And, that indirect support is exactly what's going to help keep her business strong, keep, our network strong in terms of supporting women-owned businesses, women of color owned businesses, and again, changing the face and the landscape of what exists and what's out there. So please do your part. Take something that you learned here and share it. So what's next for you? Obviously, you've spent so much time in this space. You have this perfected and on its way. And obviously, I know that there's more you want to do with it, but have you thought about any other trips elsewhere that you're going to go so that you can, find the next part of yourself that you'll bring back into your next product?
I mean, it's funny because trips, I don't think so. I think I really just want to expand our calendula-based line. So it's funny. So we have right now the boric acid suppositories, which we have a patent on that formula. And then we have our calendula-based probiotics. And then we're going to expand to other calendula-based products. So that's kind of what's next for me in terms of MavoCare. In terms of moving, we're really looking around. We're really liking Miami a little bit. So we'll see what happens there. But otherwise, that's kind of where I'm at right now. I'm looking just to expand the business and grow. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I love that. We'll be watching. I'll be watching. We'll be watching. Clearly it sounds like you kind of reconnected with, we hear this over and over again, there's sometimes no need to really, we've created and processed so many things, it's these herbs and these natural, remedies that are out there from a lot of our cultures, from, where it all started, that is really the source of healing and the source of health. So
Totally.
there's definitely more, I'm sure, to watch and see that we will all benefit from the work that you're going to put in on your end. So thank you for doing that on behalf of all women. And look, for those of you who are dealing with, yeast infections, again, this is an opportunity for you to, consider something that, to Lisa's point, is, will help, keep, not just address the issue for the moment, but, really take time with any of your women's health issues to not only try to stop what's happening, but look at why it's happening and look at what you can do in your body to adjust your body to keep it from happening again. That holistic, right? The holistic approach to women's health is really the one that really keeps us, feeling strong and heard. And so very.
I mean, one thing I'd like to point out,
Please.
One thing I was researching while I was pitching, and I use this in my pitch as well, is the average woman puts up to 68 different chemicals on their body before they leave the door for work every single day. So I could do something to reduce that amount of chemicals. That was kind of why I started all this. So I can do something that's enough for me, just to
Yeah.
reduce that, because we don't really know what we're putting on our bodies. We don't know we don't really know. Unfortunately, in this society, they're selling us what they can. So at the end
It's
of
so
yeah.
true. It is so true, and we've had that conversation with a few others here, and it actually led me, and even actually, one of our team members has a great business going, Green New Jersey, as well, and she's inspired me as well so much that, to learn and to look at what I'm putting, on my skin, as my deodorant,
Yeah.
in my mouth, all of these things, hair coloring, all of these things that we do, has an impact, it's because of it. So it's an important thing to think about. It's also important that, again, shifting culture so that these things become more affordable, and not be just, attained by one group because they can afford it, that it should be access to all, and that inclusivity is so important, and something else obviously we strive for at the YW. Look, there, I could talk to you for hours, and I will. We'll find other ways to keep talking, other places to keep talking, and then we'll make sure that our YW family gets some, the ability to be part of those conversations as well, no matter where they are. So we wish you such luck, and just cheering you on, and we'll be watching. And thank you so much for being so generous and sharing your story today too. Your inspiration as an entrepreneur, the journey that you personally went through, helping get away some of the shrouds of secrecy around these, discussions, and helping us talk about them more openly. You rock. We love
Oh,
you.
thank you. I love you. Thank you so much for having me on your platform. Like, this is extremely important. What you're doing is extremely important as well. And I think we're on the same page here in terms of changing the world, right? So this is going to be a really fun mission, and it's going to be a really fun continuous conversation.
I agree. Safe travels around, wherever you go and wherever you bring back to help all of us. And for the rest of you, thank you for joining us today. We wish you a wonderful, fabulous day. Stay connected to MavoCare through the social media platforms that we share. Stay connected to the YW from ours. As you know, we have lots of great and important programming happening, no matter what age or stage of your life you're in. And if you are a woman entrepreneur and you have an idea, please join our Eureka 360 program. We'll put the link here for you. It's free of charge, but it is a full holistic wraparound to give you support on, every aspect, and a whole cohort and peer group, to be able to support you, in starting a business and keeping it strong. So please, think about connecting with us there, and have a great day. We'll see you again tomorrow for our Share the Mic Now. As you know, on Thursdays for more than 2 years now, we've been, sharing our Thursdays with Black women to share their stories. And I'm looking forward to another great story to share with you tomorrow. Have a great day. We appreciate so much that you spending your time with us. And bye-bye, Lisa. We will talk soon.
Thank you so much. Talk
Bye,
to you
everyone.
soon. Bye-bye.